Hey, this is a topic I wanted to share that I talked with some friends of mine about the importance of what we watch and what we give ourselves to. So, I was sharing that sometimes when we are watching certain TV shows, and a buddy of mine told me that he never watches anything with domestic violence or where the husband and wife are fighting or arguing or beefing or he's cheating on her, she's cheating on him, and all these kind of things because he says it kind of builds wrong ideas and wrong things in his heart and his mind. And then he says later on he'll find out that he's like, man, I'm arguing with my wife about the same things, that soap opera or that show or that romantic comedy rom-coms you're watching. And you're like, well, no, that doesn't affect me, that doesn't affect me. It's like, well, whatever you give yourself to the most you eventually become. So uh, I shared that, and then that week I was hanging out with our friends, and uh, then that same thing happened to me where I'm like, man, is everything okay with my wife? Is she acting different? Am I acting different? And like, what's going on? And you start getting paranoid and asking questions and wondering about things. And then when we sit down and talk, like, no, everything's wonderful. Everything's fine. I'm wondering what's wrong with you. And I'm thinking, man, I said it was an attack. I shared about it. And then that same thing happens in my life. And I understand a lot of people like to have entertainment or watch the news or watch different media sources and channels and things like that. But if you're giving yourself to certain things that start, uh, even if you think it's not affecting you, those kind of things creep into your life and they start slowly eroding your faith or your belief system or your heart. And I'm not the best, maybe, role model to, like, well, I never watch anything and I only listen to the Bible and that kind of stuff. But one thing I want to encourage us all to keep our eyes focused on Him, His Word, His promises, the things that He says to us, not just our own logic and our own things and acting just like everyone else and expecting different results. Everything that God has for you, the things that He's planned for you, the things that He has are so vast, are so big and so wide that it's very important what you say, what you see, what you hear. All these things start becoming very important. It might not seem like a big deal because time isn't moving fast enough or things in your life aren't happening. Uh, or maybe you are having a very busy life and you have children and you're very tired and you're working all the time and you're exhausted. There's something God has for us that's so rich and so sweet that my friend shared with me, and I applied it instantly. You hear something and you make it your reality right away. You don't wait. And a friend of mine was sharing about another friend of ours, a mutual friend, and she says, I don't know how God provides for me. I don't know what happens in my life. I just started saying, okay, God, I will let you take care of me. I'll let you bless me. Because sometimes we think we don't deserve it. Sometimes thoughts come and say, you didn't do enough to earn it. You're not praying enough. You're not fasting enough. You're not reading the Word enough. Certain lies try to come in. Instead of being a son of God, we try to do things to prove that we're sons of God. And when I heard that story, it's like, okay, God, I'll let you take care of me. I'll believe that you're good. I'll believe that you're faithful. And then provision shows up. And as soon as I say that in my heart, okay, Father, I'll allow that. I won't fight anymore. I'll just say yes to you. I'll say yes to your heart. I'll agree that what you want to do in my life, okay, I want that. And then everything seems to happen so fast. But when I'm out there praying and fasting and fighting, and he'd stop me like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Well, I'm doing this because I'm pressing in. I'm breaking through. And he'll look at me and just wonder, like, what are you doing? You're already in. Come on in. What are you doing? You're here. You're already in. Why are you still fighting? And that's what we kind of discussed many times. Do we fight and press in, or do we rest and trust God? Do we co-labor? Do we do something? Do we not do something? And then a friend of mine sent me an interesting clip about these Taoists, these Buddhists who teach on rest and peace and the universe flows to you, but if you're fighting, everything seems to run from you, and sometimes you seem to strive so hard either for your marriage or your relationships or your friendships and jobs and careers, and you try so hard, and then eventually when you just give up and you quit trying and you quit struggling and just rest and live in a place of peace, everything flows and happens because you're not looking for it. You're not constantly pursuing it. There's a place of peace. And I'm thinking, man, these Taoists are saying the same thing Christians are. And then I hear them say that, yeah, Jesus, he was a Taoist. Because their religion was 500 BC. So, like, yeah, Jesus is one of us. And I'm thinking, man, look at these guys. I turned it off. I got so tired and so mad at listening to them literally counterfeiting how a believer walks, how a believer should live in a place of peace and trust and faithfulness to God. A lot of people think you'll never do anything, you'll just sit around for the rest of your life and everything just happens magically. There is a place to work, there is a place to co-labor, but you're striving to enter into that rest. As chapter 4 of Hebrews goes, if you want to go into that, we have to find that place of sonship. We have to find that place of love, identity, belonging. I wanted to make a video too and call it love versus intimacy, and versus identity and stuff like that, because sometimes we teach identity so strong and then I'll hear an awesome teaching, that snuggle, don't struggle thing, and I'm like, man, he covers it so well that you can make anything into a religion. No matter how simple or pure you try to keep it, as soon as you create rules and laws, it starts turning into a form of religion that people choose to pursue. And it's like, man, I don't even want to make rules for people. I don't want to make even these black and white things. I just want people to submit to God and walk with Him and just live your life with Him. Find delight in Him and enjoy Him. And if you don't know how, part of it is just engaging God with your heart. Talking to Him throughout your day. Enjoying just the simple things. Inviting Him into your life. And walking with Him. Keeping your mind and your heart set on Him. Now people do that through many ways. And those guys and Buddhists to do it through these meditations and all these different things and deep breathings and all these other things, and I was like, man, these guys are just counterfeiting, and they're building up their soul to serve and to let the enemy live through that instead of submitting to the Spirit. Because if all the glory goes to God and we're surrendering our lives to Him, then why do we build ourselves up to be someone so powerful and amazing, and we want people's respect and honor when it's a life laid down to Him? And I had a dream with my friend in it, a cousin of mine, and I was sharing with him that, yeah, we do have crowns and we do receive from the Lord, and we're not, proud or trying to be humble, but we receive from the Lord everything He has for us. So if someone received a martyr's crown, if someone received these crowns and these glorious accolades and everything that they did, that's just one more thing I get to lay at the feet of Jesus. I can receive everything anyone tries to give, and it doesn't change me, because everything I receive, I just give to Jesus, because I don't want this stuff. This life is not worth living for yourself. It's only worth living if you have someone to do this with. And you can have a spouse and a partner, and if they leave, your life's over, and it's like, no. God is the only thing that brings sustaining joy. Everyone tells you, well, marriage will fix your problems. It's like, no, marriage will start problems for you, And it's not always the reason you do things. You don't do things to find that fulfillment in marriage or stuff. there's a blessing. There's a helpmate. My wife is a blessing to me and a wonderful helpmate. But it's not the reason I got married, so she can serve me or what I can get out of her. It was always love for God and love for her, love for people, that I want to do anything. Everything else is a false motive or a false reason. So check your heart. Talk to God. Read His Word. Keep His Word in your heart and mind and keep it centered on that. That's what's going to help you find the joy, the delight, and fulfillment that you're looking for. I can't find it in anything else, and I don't encourage people to build their kingdoms here. Everything we're going to build with the Father. We're going to enjoy it. We're going to have amazing things. And the visions that God's given us, I used to think they're so big, they're too complicated, they're too hard to do. And the more I get to know the Father, everything He's told me, it's just too easy. Everything He told me, it's so simple. There's no stress, there's no worry, there's just a peace. And it's like, well, yeah, one time God gave me a vision and showed me how to make $1 trillion in one day. And I'm thinking, one day? No one ever makes that much money in one day. And then you hear Elon Musk made 25 billion in a day. And it's just like, well, the way money's going, the way things are going, the wisdom that God has, He's selling cars. Come on, guys. There's so much more this planet has to offer instead of just cars or rocket ships to go to Mars. There's so much that God wants to do with you. Just spend time with Him. Find out what it is. Find His heart. Find love with Him. And when you find all that with Him, then He'll show you things on His heart, and then it'll be worth it. Otherwise, I can give you jobs, I can give you joy, I can give you money, and you can travel and have fun, and you think you achieved something, and then in the end, you're still depressed and you have everything. Because He's your everything. He's your source. He's your life. He is your exceedingly great reward. Everything else has an ending. Who He is and what He has for you, there's no end. So I encourage you to seek Him, find Him, pursue Him, and enter into the rest. We'll see you guys on the next one.